hair, but you're still Mr. Drip.
Yeah, I'm going back to I'm not undercover. I'm undercover right now. If I was coming back next year, I'd have to grow it out again. But that was about a 4 month long process to get a decent mustache.
Was that the first time you grew any facial hair of any kind? Was it an introductory experience?
No, I usually do some sort of beard, which doesn't look good either. But the mustache is definitely an experiment, and I actually dyed it black before every game to make it pop a little more, which some people may or may not know.
Well, that's a fun fact, but I will confirm to you that that thing did pop. It
Yeah,
absolutely popped.
yeah.
What have you been doing since season 9? You graduated, right?
Basically, I'm still taking one class, but I'm not going back to school because of all this going on. So
Yeah. So you'll
eventually,
finish
I'm
you'll finish
going.
up next month.
Yep, and then I'll have
Okay.
my online graduation.
How's
Uh,
I'm familiar with people who are seniors who aren't going to get that opportunity to walk. How does that sit with you?
I mean, they can't do anything about it. They can't have a graduation full of however many thousands of people. I understand that, but it's just everything's a little off right now in the world. So you know, it's a big part of your life that you're gonna miss. And the tough part for them is you can't really have everyone come back because as soon as graduation hits, everybody's going off and getting jobs wherever. So I
Yeah.
understand.
With everything being off the way that you mentioned, what have you been doing to stay busy? I know I saw you're, trying to get into putting your toe in the coaching water up there in upstate New York.
Yeah. So luckily, my dad, he's a personal trainer, and we've kind of accumulated a little weight room in the basement. So that's consuming most of my time. And then I decided to just start training kids, just going to local high school fields, throwing local quarterbacks. I'm one of probably the first quarterback to make it, like big time Division 1, and so I'm one of the only like trusted guys around this area, anyways. So before my name kind of wears away, and while I still have somewhat of a reputation around here, I wanted to be able to give back a little bit to the kids who are trying to make it to the next level, like I was.
So giving back, is this also your first steps down the road? Do you want to get into coaching too?
I don't want to get into coaching, actually. This is kind of just like a little. I'm really bored, and this is something that I'm good at. I know there's kids out there that need that, but starting at the end of August, assuming all this stuff clears up, I'm going to be starting physical therapy school at most likely at the University of Buffalo.
So that's cool. I'm gonna try to. Can you see the comment from Sam here?
Yeah.
Okay, Coach. You basically answered that question. You won't be known as Coach Zembiec. You might be known as personal therapist Zembiec.
Yeah. Hey, if you want to call me coach, that's fine. I feel weird answering to coach. Sometimes people DM me, and they used to send me their highlights during the season because they assumed I was a coach on the sidelines, and they would send me like their huddle film and be like, "Hey, coach, can you check out my highlights?" I'm like, "Well, I can't offer you a scholarship, but I'll watch them."
I promise I'll watch them. Now, I don't want to take anything away from you, but I get like two or three of those a week for some reason that I do not understand. Like, do I look like a coach? I don't think so.
Hey, people
Um,
are do whatever they can to get recruited.
and I don't blame them at all. Uh, so 4 month process to grow the beard, was it part, or grow the mustache? Was it part of the plan all along to get rid of it whenever the season ended?
Yeah, as soon as the last game happened, it was going. And some people thought it was like a win streak beard or mustache, but my goal was to have it grow the whole season. I wanted to get it long enough so it could curl, but that it pretty much reached its peak at where it was. So I was kind of sad about that, but it really ended up just being a creepy mustache more than anything.
It was like a Magnum PI. Like that might be an early reference for you, but like a Tom Selleck mustache. You look like a statesman. I don't think it was creepy.
Yeah.
Uh, and then at what point in time did you become the guy where everybody's jewelry was going?
2 years ago, actually,
Okay,
which is what most people don't know. Everyone
yeah.
was like, "Oh, you're trying so hard to get all the attention." I was like, I've been doing that for long before anyone recognized. I did it not this past season, but the year before I did it all season. I don't remember exactly how it started because I wasn't planning on it evolving to anything, but I think somebody had forgotten their one single chain when they went out to the field, and they were like, "Hey man, like, can you hold this in your pocket during the game, or whatever?" And I just wore it, and then people come up to me like, "Oh, look at you wearing that," and then it kind of people either forgot their chains or gave me them on purpose to hold, and it just accumulated. It was something fun I did.
Well, and then for them, like it's something of value. So it's like, okay, I'm not going to wear this during the game. I'm either going to try to stash this in my locker, or I'm
Yeah.
going to put it around Jake's neck. Seems like an obvious
Yeah.
choice to me.
Yeah, so it started off as one guy forgetting his necklace, and then it ended up being me texting them before the games. You better not forget to bring your.
Yeah.
So
Who was the Joker?
that was mine.
Oh, that was yours. All right. Is
Well,
that
I
good?
ended up like I ended up with four of my own, um, just because it ended up becoming such a big thing. I have
Oh, there it is. I mean, not
yeah,
everybody can pull that off.
no, it's like I think it was like $35. So anyone can have the costume, but you just gotta have the right platform to make it go big.
Well, listen, part of the right platform, like you wore the jewelry for 2 years. The difference last year when you started, the camera starting to find you, as Steve hints at right here, you got to bring that thing back.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to tell everybody. I tried to tell people that I've been doing the chains for 2 years, but it was the mustache that did it, and everyone was telling me, "Oh, your stash looks so ugly." I'm like, "Well, if you want the attention, you got to do something to stand out."
Now, I mean, in all seriousness, like I think whenever you are part of a team, and I'm not really speaking from experience directly, but when you get hurt, I've heard just the idea that it's hard to stay connected to the core mission of the group. It's hard to feel like you're still part of that. Did I mean this was something that you were part of all this, like you weren't out there on the field with these guys, but as silly as this stuff was, like you were very much still part of the fabric of the team.
Yeah, so um, basically, my role on the team, I'm not allowed to really say it too in depth, but I was a crucial part of every single play, and if I messed up, it was essentially going to affect not the whole game, but at least a series or a play. So as funny as I don't know if other teams thought I was just a decoy or they actually thought I had something to do with the team, but I had a pretty serious role. I showed up to practice every day. First, I put in as much time as the guys did, all that, and so that way it came game time. The coaches could trust on me, just like anybody else. I just happened to be wearing a ridiculous outfit.
are
And
you
the other part
comfortable
of
from
that, no, go ahead.
Are you comfortable from the outside being known as that guy whenever your role was a lot bigger than that?
Yeah, I mean, I that was only a semester long thing, so it's pretty much gone now. I'm a nobody now. I'm just another grad student now. So it was just a cool way to end my senior year, having that kind of just like shooting to the spotlight for a couple months. But
All right, so I'm gonna put a comment from Richard. I'm assuming you don't stay super in tune with the inner workings of recruiting at this point, but any comment for Richard wanting the scoop from you?
who do I think will commit next?
Do you follow along with this
I
stuff as much as
I,
the diehards do?
I have zero clue. I got to be honest.
Okay,
Whoever's gonna help us win.
I mean that's who everybody wants to commit next.
Yeah.
Um, what was so as you're being noticed last season? What was what were some of the cooler things and experiences or exposure? Whether that's ending up on the broadcast or like I know like Barstool and like people like that. What was the thing that you look back on and be like that was pretty cool? I'm glad I got a chance to do that.
I mean, the whole thing was really amazing, but I don't know. It was really a cool story. So we have equipment managers who are the guys who kind of set up and take down practice, who don't really get much credit, and they do a bunch of stuff on game day. They run in the balls and stuff. So we would lift we would do like our pregame ritual lift no matter what time the game was. If it was a noon game, we would lift at like 6 in the morning because they have to be there early and all this stuff. And we would post stuff on Instagram, just joke around. Like it would be me and all them, like corny messages like, you see us working today. We don't need to tell you our names. You're going to hear us on ESPN tomorrow. Just like stupid stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then like I would kind of be their spokesman, and I ended up on ESPN the next day and stuff like that. So I think it was the Purdue game was the first, or maybe not the first, but one of the first games that the student section made me a banner. Out of all the things, having a banner made of me was probably my favorite thing, just because I don't know. I don't feel like I'm that special to deserve that, but that was the coolest thing. And I actually became pretty good friends with the main kid who made it. There was like a group of them. So ESPN did a little thing on that during Purdue. And then, so Barstool's president, Portnoy, he posted something about it. And then I was on Penn State Barstool every week pretty much. And then come the whiteout, the Barstool account with Portnoy and all those guys, they called me and they wanted to do a interview. That got turned down by our people because we didn't know. They didn't want me to be in a bad position, which is understandable because some of their content could be a little edgy. And then that same day, Maria Taylor from College Game Day did an interview with me just on my story, kind of like we're doing right now. So it really took off. But at the same time, I was going to stop doing it the moment that my coaches or teammates felt that it was being a distraction. So I think I handled the fun part of it well. And then, I had a little fun myself.
I popped a question from Steve back on here about, did you get to keep the banner?
Absolutely. My goal is to make it my new wallpaper in my room sometime soon, or in grad school.
That's still in progress. Like we can see over your shoulder. You mentioned you have football stuff on all sides of the room, but your little Penn State corner there is pretty cool. I'm assuming. I mean, that thing's pretty huge, right? Like 6 feet by 6 feet.
Oh, it's bigger than that. I have to reach my arms all the way above my head to stretch it out. It's pretty massive. And the cool thing about it was it's usually players who get the banners or coaches. So I don't know if there's anybody who was in a position like mine who had a banner made of them.
Well, you were a hybrid player coach, so I think you deserved it.
Fun.
Walk me through, how you got to this point. Like, how early in your career did you start kind of having that uphill fight with injuries, and at what point, and how did you come to the conclusion? How painful was it to come to the conclusion that you just kind of couldn't keep doing it anymore?
Yeah, so that's like the most common question I get asked when I have to talk about this kind of stuff, and it goes all the way back to my junior year of high school.
You missed that year, right?
I did miss that. I missed the year because of a wrist injury. Actually, I broke my wrist. But going into that senior season, I had gone to. This is when I started the whole Elite 11 thing and got invited to that. So I would travel from. I did. I went to Ohio State, drove back home. Next weekend, I flew to Oregon, or Los Angeles, drove back home. The next weekend, I flew to Oregon. And in between all this, I'm doing like, our week-long summer camp from school. And I think my shoulder just wore down. I may or may not have taken a hit. I don't remember. And it was at that point that my shoulder was really just kind of shot. And I went into my senior year knowing I had a torn labrum. And they told me I could rehab it. So what I would do my senior year is not really practice as much during the week and just kind of throw on game day to save my shoulder. So once I got to college, I didn't have that option because I had to throw every day. And my shoulder wore down quick. I mean, anyone will tell you when you're playing with an injury, it's not the same for many reasons. You don't play up to your potential. It hurts. And you kind of feel like you're not going to get better when you're rehabbing and all this stuff, and you don't feel much of a difference. So everything just added up. And then my sophomore year of college, which would have been 3 or 4 years after the initial pain, I got to the point where I was throwing and getting nauseous because I hurt so bad. And I, felt really comfortable at that point saying I'm ready to get surgery, and then eventually led to me saying I'm done playing.
And then the conversation, I'm assuming it made maybe a quick pivot into what your role with the team could continue to be, right? Where you could basically do what you were doing, where you were a guy on the sidelines who was helping the cause and all that.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that was important to me when I made that decision. I said, I don't want to make this decision if this means I have to be out of the picture completely. Being around the guys is very important to me. Um, because they're my best friends. And then I feel like I know I've been in this system for 2 years and I've played in spring games. I practice every day, so I know what's going on and I feel like I can give back. So at that point they said, yeah, we'd love to have you around. And I was fortunate for that because there's other guys who've had to go on medical for reasons where they didn't have a choice, and they hadn't had as much time in the system, so they feel like they don't know as much or can't really give back as much as I could just because they don't have the experience as a player that I did.
Right, and you were in a position to give back to the team, and I think from the sounds of it, it was an important position that you were in. Tell me about some of the personalities on the team. Like who's got the big personalities? There are some obvious ones, like KJ, for example, is his outward big personality. But who else had a big person or has a big personality?
Yeah, I mean he always sticks out. I think back to some of the first teams that I was on. I don't know if that's what you're asking, but guys like Marcus Allen, obviously, Josh McPherson. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yeah.
He was hilarious. And then from this year's team, a guy who you wouldn't expect, Fred Hansard. He's pretty funny. Um, I'm trying to think guys who don't really try to be funny but are. I think I think Will Fries is hilarious. He would never do anything or say anything that would show that to the general public, but if you get to hang out with him, he is hilarious. I mean, there's really a lot of guys where we're together so much that we just mess with each other all the time. That's the only thing to do.
Yeah. I'm not looking for trade secrets or anything, but everybody here's like in position meetings and in the quarterback's room, like what is that scene like when you're going over meetings? How collaborative? How big of a voice is Sean Clifford, for example, as the starting guy? What's the scene like?
Yeah, so I don't think it's as crazy as some reality TV shows and stuff make it seem. You kind of go in there and you watch film and you get corrected every single play, whether you throw a touchdown or an interception. We have I mean, we joke around a lot. That was part of what made, when I first got there, was Coach Moorhead, who was the quarterback coach, and then Coach Ronnie, obviously, finishing up. We would joke around. Sometimes we would start off the first 5 minutes would just be kind of let it all out, have our fun now, and then lock in for the next however long it was. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of what you would expect. You go through the practice before, and then a lot of the times you go through practice and then you have to put in the new plays for the week, but you take so long going through practice from the week before that you don't get those plays in. So you feel like when you get on the field, you're like, all right, what did he say? What did he say? What did he say?
Yeah.
And a quick funny story. I forget. There was always these chocolate peanut butter bars. I don't know if the team had some sort of deal with this company or not, but there was like hundreds of boxes of these. And Coach Moorhead would give Michael Schuster, he would throw him a chocolate bar every single day we came in a meeting, and he wouldn't eat any of them. He would just be like, "Here, Shu, have a bar." If he would answer a question or ask a question, he was like, "You know what? You deserve a chocolate bar for that." So he would end up with like 50 of these peanut butter chocolate bars at the end of the year that he's just accumulated over the year. And then in the room, there is a fish tank. There's like a big cutout of who is it? It's like Dave Matthews or something. There's a big like boxing dummy. There's just all this random stuff. So
Random. Yeah, random. So why was Schuster the guy who was getting all the chocolate bars?
I have no idea. Schuster has quite the personality too. Him and Coach Moore had really hit it off.
Okay.
And I don't know. It was just a funny thing we did.
I as you were talking, I was just kind of thinking back to whenever you mentioned from the sideline, the role that you were playing. If you screwed up, made a mistake, what could happen? When was the last time you made that kind of mistake that threw a drive off? And are you just kind of sitting in your own embarrassment for a while when that happens?
So I was the, I basically was in this role where I had an influence on the game for my last 3 years there, and I made one mistake ever, and we scored on that drive, so it kind of got washed away.
Oh, that's good. I mean, it's what's the sinking feeling like when you're on the field? You make a mistake, you make a physical mistake, you get an opportunity right away to kind of move on to the next play. Whatever, making a mistake in that capacity is different, right?
Yeah, so when you're on the headset and you make a mistake, you kind of just sit there and wait to see if the play turns out good, and if it does, you're like, oh well, and then if it doesn't, then you got to kind of confess, or because the players are gonna throw you under the bus right away. They're like, hey, I didn't do it.
Yeah, that's
So
funny. Um, and so what's the immediate future now for you? You mentioned going back to school. When are you start? Is
yeah,
that going to start in the fall?
so I'll be starting grad school. I think the first day is like August 28th or something, assuming everything goes as planned. And that'll take another 3 years. So I got a long time before I'm out of school, which is kind of a good thing. I don't really want to grow up anytime soon. So
Yeah.
I don't want to become an adult before I have to.
Well, and I think a lot of people, as we start to wrap up here, I think a lot of people will be disappointed if I didn't ask. What are your plans for facial hair in the future? Is the mustache coming back? Whenever you do have the power to grow it in a little thicker, a little faster, are you gonna use that power?
So my facial hair really sucks. It really does. Um, I can't grow much of a beard. It just looks puffy. It doesn't look as good as yours does right now. Mine doesn't come in nice. My mustache took way too much effort, and I'm really gonna have no purpose to grow a mustache anymore besides to look like a fool. So I don't know if the mustache will ever come back. The chains are all right here. I'm sure everybody would love to see.
Oh
They're
yeah.
doing great. So
So
I'll
the
have those forever. I won't ever wear those again either.
were they all were
But
were all those in the $35 range?
the Penn State one was not. Uh, no, it was not.
Okay. Let me a little feedback from Tom here. He thinks you need to update your decor some, or are you going to be New England ride or die?
Well, I don't know if I can picture Brady in a different uniform, but that's from like when I was 12. I'm pretty much a fan of every NFL team now. I just support my teammates, but I definitely still love Brady. He was my role model.
He was a lot of people. He's been going for so long. Let me wrap with one more thing from Steve. I think all of us can kind of echo that. All your future endeavors. Good luck with grad school. Do you think you're going to be involved in football in any kind of capacity after this, or you closing that chapter up and not planning to come back?
Um, I'm not going to say no. Um, I'm sure whether it's continuing to do this, personal quarterback training, or I get back involved with my high school, I could see myself getting into it down the road. But as of right now, I'm focused on, getting this degree in physical therapy, getting a steady job there. And then once I kind of settle down in my adult life, I'm sure I'll get bored once again and find a new passion. But yeah, no, I appreciate everybody's support this past season. It was so fun for me to finish up the way it did. And I mean, I couldn't ask for anything more in my last season.
Let me just close with this piece of advice: push back, hold off on adult life as long as you can. All right,
I'm trying.
hang in
I'm going
there.
to grad.
Awesome. Well,
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you being here, Penn State fans. I'm sure appreciate you being here. Everybody who's tuned in right now, I think we'll have this video on Penn Live later. I think we'll do a little story on Jake just to update where he's at and what he's doing with himself moving forward. But Jake, I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It's good to get in touch with everyone during these boring weeks and months.
that's the whole point, is that there's no sports. Let's try to bring some sports people to fans. So that I appreciate you being part of that.
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks, man. Thanks everybody else. We'll see you next time.
Alrighty, take care.